Hello everyone. Be warned, we are going to talk about information from BlizzCon, so of course, spoilers ahead. Last night, I spent quite some time speculating and talking about the upcoming lore in Discord, and one interesting conversation came from the confirmation that the burning of Teldrassil is going to take place before the cinematic at Lordaeron. This has been confirmed in an interview with GameSpot, which is linked down below and also backed up by other sources, so we now know who shot first. We know what leads into the siege of the Undercity. Yet at the same time, that also raises a whole bunch of interesting questions. This could just be the bombing of Fedamore. As we know from the preview, Sylvanas didn't mind striking out and claiming more of the land. What she didn't agree with was the timing. It could purely be for the dominance of the area. No big motivation or story. The Horde strikes first and the Alliance responds. There's apparently a leaked poster suggesting that she's going to use a fragment of Sargeras' sword to light up the tree, but unfortunately I couldn't find a link to this picture, so if you know more, by all means please let me know. This could be the thing that the Goblins are searching for in Silithus, although my assumption was that they were competing over Azeroth, competing with the gnomes for the Alliance, as mentioned when they're talking about Azeroth.
This is a little bit like being the first group to discover plutonium. While incredibly powerful, we're not entirely sure what all it can do. And some of those mysteries you'll be exploring in Battle for Azeroth. But what both sides do know is that it has the power to be incredibly destructive. And whichever faction has the most of this stuff in their coffers when war fronts break out is definitely going to have the upper hand. Now, the gnomes and the goblins aren't just going to let this awesome new source of power show up without immediately developing some technology that will allow us to pinpoint where these hemorrhages are locating or showing up all across Azeroth.
Here's the thing though, a repeat of Garrosh would be a little bit repetitive, and we know her motivation right now is to stay alive. She failed in enslaving Aegir, she failed in having the power to create unlimited amounts of Valkyr, and pretty much getting so many one-ups that she becomes immortal and can resurrect a near infinite undead army. Why start an all-out war with the Alliance when the forces are still somewhat weak from Legion? What is there to gain from that? And more importantly, why would someone like Saurfang remain at her side? The sky's the limit really, and by all means feel free to drop your own speculation. One way that it could play out is that the new organization, the Desolate Council, they do not want what their queen wants. They now have a free will, and they do not want to live forever, while Sylvanas, their Arthas, she just keeps on going. She's placing the undead curse upon more and more of their kind. Sylvanas is no pushover herself, she has powerful forces at her side, and they believe that the only way to stop her, while also going out in a blaze of glory themselves, that would be to start this war. Sylvanas, Naphanos, and Saurfang, they find out about this inside betrayal, the plans to burn out Teldrassil and place the blame on Sylvanas and the Horde, and they go out to try and stop it. In the meantime, Verissa also finds out what is going on. She believes that Sylvanas is responsible and she goes out to try and stop her. This forces the Windrunner sisters into a confrontation, with Sylvanas eventually being forced to kill her little moon, but by that point, it's already too late. The truth is revealed at the end, while Sylvanas is forced to watch her plans and schemes burn, her hopes and dreams of stopping this before it's too late. They go up in flame, leading into an all-out war between the Alliance and the Horde. Might just be an artistic choice, but it kinda seemed like Sylvanas had been crying before going into battle at Lordaeron. That's just one way that it could play out though. I've also heard the suggestion of Naphanos and Sylvanas striking out at Greymane in Stormwind. The old wolf, not too happy about this, and he starts pushing into retaliation. The Worgen at Teldrassil, they're ready for battle, vengeance for Gilneas, which then leads into a massive battle, with Greymane's endgame being to burn down Teldrassil and pin it on the Horde. This could explain why people like Tyrande are accounted for, since she does apparently survive the flames, and of course, it would also limit the amount of casualties taken by the fire. Have to admit, it's got me going though. It has me very excited for the Christie Golden novel, and like I said, the sky is pretty much the limit when it comes to reasoning and the road that the story is going to take. This is just some massive speculation, but I think it's fair to say that if there's one group standing to gain something out of a new conflict, it would be our good old friends.
Your petty quarrels only make me stronger.
The Old Gods. The boy king serves at the master's table. 3 lies he will offer you, claiming that it was the Horde who burned down Teldrassil to dominate the world. If the story goes into a more subtle direction, that will be a lie on his own, even if Anduin himself doesn't realize it. Gathering the brothers and sisters of the Alliance to stand with him in this conflict, that would serve the Old Gods very well. Perhaps just N'Zoth specifically, but they do feed on chaos and strife. Redshirt guy also dropped some juicy details from testing at the con. New emissary districts are found in Stormwind and Orgrimmar. Stormwind is behind the Cathedral District, Orgrimmar replacing the Goblin slums. All faction leaders and some familiar faces are hanging out. On the Alliance, there is Anduin, Turelion, Illyria, Tyrande, Muradin, Mekatork, Gen, Velen, Isa, and Rephion. On the Horde side, there's Sylvanas, Bane, Liadrin, Rokan, Lorfmar, Gallywix, Sourfang, Eitric, Nephanos, and G. Firepaw. The new subrace of Void Elves joined the Alliance. They're actually Blood Elves that were kicked out of Silvermoon for dabbling with the Void, and Illyria has offered to teach them to control it like she can. Interesting that Malfurion is not accounted for yet. I wonder if he'll be a casualty of the Flames, and of course, Rephion wrapping Team Alliance. Some wondered if that supports the idea of Rephion being the Whisper Boy King, but for me, and of course, that is just me, a change of location, it doesn't really change much about who he is compared to Anduin, who is actually a Boy King. Why does he represent the Alliance over the Horde? That's hard to say. I mean, during Mr. Pandaria, he already threw his loyalty with the Alliance, but that kinda backfired. Then he came up with the brilliant idea of forming a new Horde with Garrosh. That also kinda backfired, so who knows. Maybe he too believes that the Horde is responsible for Teldrassil, that the Alliance should win. Or maybe, just maybe, he really likes Anduin. Some also suggested that Jaina might be responsible for causing the faction war, as Jaina, you know, at this point is responsible for everything, she's a Dreadlord, blah blah blah. But they've outright stated that neither she nor her mother is a Dreadlord, and when it comes to Jaina being good or evil, they said...
So look, if I'm Jaina, right? As a character, Jaina is racked with regret, right? Looking over her past decisions and the things that she's done. Responsible for the death of her father. Potentially responsible for what the Horde is today as a result of that. What could she have done differently at Stratholme? Could she have saved Arthas? What about the battle for Undercity? So if you kind of unpack all of that and break all of those things apart, it's left a character that has some damage. And then not even speaking of Theramore. So one of the things we're going to do is explore that damage, explore those decisions with Jaina, and try to understand how she got to be the way she is, and hopefully pull her out of it. So, no, she's not evil. She's conflicted, and it's something we absolutely want to explore.
So that doesn't seem like a storyline in which she outright causes a war. We also know that Thrall will have his part to play, but apparently he's not present in Orgrimmar, so maybe something with Magni the Speaker or exploring Vol'jin's story. Like last time we saw him, he was so conflicted about what he had to do with Garrosh, being partially responsible for him and having to end his life, that he lost his connection to the elements. Will it appear to him that another war chief like Garrosh is rising up, and will he make different choices this time around, or will they use him for a completely different story? Then finally, some of you asked about Silvermoon. If the Alliance dominates the Eastern Kingdom, what about the home of the Blood Elves? But both Silvermoon and the Exodar, they're still their own. They'll have fiction to explain how that's going to work. Those two cities are sort of lost bastions, and they also mentioned that the Blood Elves, they will have a role to play in that new 20-man skirmish thing that they got going on at Stromgarde, so really looking forward to that.
So this means that Alliance have control over Eastern Kingdoms. It is very close to falling to the full Alliance. The fight is going to end, the fight is going to continue, I should say, in Arathi Highlands, where the remaining members of the Horde will face off against the Alliance pushing north. All right, so for the Alliance, why is this important? Well, the Undercity isn't defensible. The Horde is still up to the north, and they're still angry. Silvermoon City is up there. It's a zone boundary away. There's like a loading screen, but they can probably make it through. Probably make sure. And this is a place you can make a stand and cut off the north. Now, for the Horde, you got to make a stand here. You've already lost your most defensible position. This is your time to prevent the Alliance from building up. It's also a great place to launch attacks on Gilneas if we were to do such a thing. So the first warfront that we're going to have in Battle for Azeroth is Stromgarde. The fight for Stromgarde. Okay, that's the original version of Stromgarde. That's the new version of Stromgarde. So we're still working on the map, so it'll probably change as we get through it all, but it's very cool. So Alliance, you're going to try to reclaim the original seat of Stromgarde and use it to defend yourself against the Horde.
Right then, I think that just about wraps up this video, and like I said before, by all means leave your speculation behind in the comments down below. How do you feel the burning of Teldrassil, the motivation behind this war, is going to play out? I had a lot of fun on Discord yesterday. More voices on the subject are always welcome. If you want to read up on some of the stuff that I talked about today, then check out the related articles in the description down below. So yeah, that's me done. Until next time guys, see ya!